Hey everyone, this is Aaron Frensley from Hybrid 2, and in this video I want to give you an overview of creating your own Chaos Banks. The Chaos Banks are essentially self-contained versions of Project Chaos that have their own samples and their own presets. So to do this, we use the Bank Manager tool that's included with the library. And to find the Bank Manager tool, you go to your Project Chaos folder, go into the Bank Manager folder, and on Windows, it's chaosbankmanager.exe, and on Mac, it's chaosbankmanager.app. Now, this would also be a good time to mention that if you're on Mac OS High Sierra, you may encounter a bug where the Bank Manager app opens up blank. And if this happens, the way to fix it is to drag it out of the Bank Manager folder, maybe onto your desktop, and then drag it back into the Bank Manager folder, and it should work. Alright, so once you've located the Bank Manager application, go ahead and open it. And you should see the factory bank listed in the banks column, along with all of the factory sample categories listed in the categories column. And in the samples column, you'll see all of the samples for each of the categories. And you'll also see the preset category names listed down here in the bottom right. So what you want to do to create your own bank is click the New Bank button under the Banks column. You'll see this window pop up asking you to give the bank a name. So let's name this one My New Expansion. Go ahead and hit OK, and you'll see this progress bar come up while it copies over the necessary files. And once that's done, if you go back into your Project Chaos folder and go into the Banks folder, you'll see it's created this new folder for your expansion. And if you go into that, you'll see it's also created this new contact NKI file for your expansion. And if we go ahead and open that in Contact, you'll see that all of the category dropdowns don't have anything in them because we haven't added anything in yet. Let's go ahead and close that back out. And in the Bank Manager, what we want to do first is go ahead and start naming our categories. So to do this, double click on one, and you'll get a pop-up asking you to rename it. So let's say we want to import some drones. We'll rename this one Drones. And let's say we want to import some loops into this one, so we'll rename this one Loops. And once you're done renaming your categories, go ahead and select the one that you want to start importing samples for. And then in Explorer on Windows or Finder on Mac, go ahead and navigate to where your samples are stored. So for the drones, we'll go to this Drones and Textures folder, grab all of these drones. And then what you can do is just drag them directly from Explorer onto the samples list, and they're imported. For the loops, let's go ahead and use the AD breaks for the loops. So we'll drag those in. Alright, so once you're done importing samples, you can go ahead and close out the Bank Manager. You don't have to save it. And then go ahead and open your NKI again in Contact. And you'll see that it's added the two categories that we created. And down here you can see the samples that we imported. And they're named right here. Alright, so the next step would be to tune our samples. Every sample that you import into Chaos has its root key mapped to C3. So if your sample is not at C, you're going to need to adjust the tuning so that when you play a C on your keyboard, you actually hear a C. So to do this, go ahead and select on layer 1 which sample category you want to start tuning. In this case, we'll do the drones. And then in the Ops menu here, go ahead and select Show Pitch Adjuster. And you'll see these two adjusters pop up at the bottom here. One is for semitones, and the other is for fine tuning. So to tune them, we can use Contact's built-in tuning fork button, which is right here. If you don't see the tuning fork button, make sure you have the master panel selected. Alright, so let's go ahead and enable the tuning fork. And let's play a C on our keyboard. And you can hear that's not in tune, so let's go ahead and tune it. Alright, so that one sounds in tune now. Let's try the next one. All right, and so essentially you want to do that for every sample that you have in each category. And when you're done, click on this wrench here and click the save button right here. Sample tuning is saved with the patch, so make sure you save it after you're done tuning or else it won't stick when you load it again. So next we should talk about looping your samples. So while the Bank Manager is able to import your samples and get them mapped automatically, the one thing that we can't do is automatically enable looping for your samples. But we've included a simple workaround that I'll show you how to do now. So what you want to do is on layer 1, load up the category that you want to start looping. And in this case, it'll be the loops category. So let's go ahead and play this first one just to show that it doesn't loop right now. So you can hear after 4 bars, it just cuts off. And that's another thing to note. If you want to import loops and have them sync without stretching automatically, you need to make sure that your loop is 4 bars long. All right, so to get this looping, we need to open up the contact editor by clicking the wrench here, and then play a note on your keyboard. And what you want to do is look for the group in this list that turns an amber color when you play a key. So, you might have to scroll down to find it, but in our case, it's this group 2 right here. All right, so the next thing you want to do, which is very important, is make sure that you have selected groups only selected right here. Make sure that's on. It's very important. All right, so in the group editor, go ahead and select the group that you found. In this case, it's this one. And then what you want to do is hold Shift and select the 3 to the right of that group. These 4 groups correspond to the 4 layers on the interface. So go ahead and select all of those. And then down here in the mapping editor, go ahead and click and drag to select all of these zones. Once you have all of those zones selected, hold Shift and select this one called Loop Helper. So if you've done that correctly, you should see that all of these are selected, but the Loop Helper zone has the yellow ring around it. So then what you want to do is go to this little gear right here in the wave editor and go down to all selected zones and select Copy Current Zone's Loop Settings. Click OK. And once you've done that, all of your samples in this category should be looped. So let's go ahead and test it and make sure. I'm going to play it up high so that it goes faster. All right, so you can hear that that's looping now. Let's try another one. Just a random one. All right, so that's looping. Now, the one caveat to this is if you import more samples into this category, you're going to have to do the looping again. And also, we wouldn't recommend loading samples that are both loops and samples that aren't loops into the same category, just so you can do this easy looping method and not accidentally turn on looping for samples that you don't want to loop. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Chaos Banks have their own set of presets. So if we go over to the preset tab, you'll see that all of these categories just have generic names and all of the presets are blank. So if you wanted to rename these category presets, you can do so in the Bank Manager. Let's close this out. We've already saved it. Let's go back to the Bank Manager. Open it up. Go to My New Expansion. Let's say we want to rename this category. Just double click it. Give it a name. Synths. We can name this one drums, and so on. So I'll go ahead and close that out. Then we'll open our NKI again. And if we go to the preset tab, you can see these are renamed. So let's say that you've created your expansion and it's ready. It's got all the presets and all of that stuff. And you want to share it with another Project Chaos user. To do that, all you would have to do is go into your banks folder and go to the expansion that you created, or rather the bank that you created, but banks and expansions are the same thing. And then go ahead and just zip that up. And then all you'd have to do to share it is to share this file, and whoever downloads it can open it up and just drag this folder into their banks folder, and it will work for them. All right, so that's pretty much it. That is how to create Chaos Banks. Thanks for watching.